Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you everyone for joining us. It's 3:30 sharp, so we are going to start because our time is limited. First of all, I'd like to thank you for joining this webinar, Halal Home Financing webinar, which is being sponsored and organized by Remax Nova and EQRAZ. My name is Omar Khartabil. I am a Remax Nova real estate agent. And here with me, the panelist, Mr. Zuhair Naqvi. He's the CEO and founder of EQRAZ. And Naveed Malik is a mortgage agent who works closely with EQRAZ as well. So here are our panelists again, myself and Zuhair and Naveed. So to start with, here's the quick and short agenda. I'll be speaking, giving you an update on the local Remax, on the local market in Halifax or Nova Scotia, in fact. Will be around 2 or 3 minutes, and then Brother Zuhair will talk about EQRAZ and who EQRAZ is and what they offer as a halal option for us as Muslims here in the Canadian market. And Naveed will talk about more into mortgages and how this works along with EQRAZ offerings. And then we'll open it to Q&A. So let's keep all questions till the end. You can either go live and speak your question, say it live, or you can type it in the Q&A at the bottom of this screen. And then we'll conclude this webinar, inshallah, just in time for Maghrib prayer, inshallah. So to start with, I'm going to share a few documents for you to give you an idea about the market here in Nova Scotia. So year to date, so last year until December 31st, 2024, as you can see on the screen, there was 5,170 homes sold last year compared to 2023, 4,785. And when we talk about home sales, it's not a kind of a home. There are multiple, it's an average of all the homes, different kinds of homes. It could be the detached townhouses, single houses. So it's just an average of number of houses that got sold in 2024. And as you can see here, the average price last year was around 575,000, up from 2023 of 550. So as you can see, the market is becoming more aggressive last year. And going to next year, the forecast is that the price for houses is going to increase approximately 5%, so around 607,000 average price, right? So it can vary depending on the type of house, location, it also impacts the price. And the sales outlook is looking that there's going to be 6% more sales than last year. So it's going to be what they call it as a seller's market. There's going to be high demand, but low supply. So this is a good thing for sellers, but also it's time to plan if you want to buy a house before it gets really crazy and competitive in the market. That's all I have to say for the current market. So keep an eye and watch the market. And if any questions, you can reach out to me down the road. And now I'll hand it over to Brother Zuhair to give us a summary about EQRAZ and its offerings.
Thank you very much, Brother Omar. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. I would like to welcome all of you to this joint webinar between Remax and EQRAZ, which Brother Omar Khartabil from Nova Scotia has kindly put together. And I would like to start with a dua. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَمَن يَتَقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ مِنْهُ ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه إن الله بالغ أمره قد جعل الله لكل شيء قدرا. For anyone who is conscious of Allah, Allah will make a way out for him from difficulty, and He will provide for him from where he does not expect. And whoever places his trust in Allah, Allah is sufficient for him. Indeed, Allah will accomplish His purpose. Allah has already set a measure for everything. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Brothers and sisters, the reason I start with this dua is because EQRAZ has been a long 7-year journey for me. I started researching for this project around 7 years ago, and I am a chemical engineer. I'm also a pensions actuary by profession, and I have an MBA from a French university. I have started and exited multiple businesses in the Middle East. And I can tell you guys without any doubt in my mind, EQRAZ has been the most challenging and the most difficult, but the most passion inspiring project that I have ever done in my life. It started as a simple business enterprise for me about 7 years ago. But before I knew it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does all the miracles, and Allah controls us, and Allah gives hidayah to us and guidance to us. Before I knew it, over the years, it became from a business enterprise into a personal mission. And I realized that the more difficult this project is, the more important it is that we do not give up and we make sure that we see this project through its conclusion. So, before I talk about IQRAS, which I will do so in about 2 minutes, I just wanted to explain to everybody, all my brothers and sisters here, what is the situation and circumstance of Islamic finance, halal mortgage financing, halal financing generally in Canada. Canada is the only G20 country in the world that has not incorporated Islamic finance into its regulations. The US, the UK, France, Germany, Australia have all incorporated Islamic finance into their tax regulations and other real estate regulations. Canada has not done that. Last year, you guys may all be aware that there was a very big push from the Ministry of Finance and the government to include halal financing, uh, halal homes, halal mortgages in their federal budget. They made an announcement in the February, the budget that was issued. I was one of the 6 or 7 industry experts that the government was consulting on. And we found that it was very challenging. And as you will notice in the November economic update, there was no mention of halal mortgages. And the government has, at least it seems to me, based on my consultations with them, all but given up on this project because of the complexities of tax law and other rental laws and a lot of the other regulations. There's about 20 regulations that apply to home financing and home mortgages, all of which apply to halal financing as well. It seems like it is so complicated that it would take the government many, many years and millions of dollars of investment to change the laws to accommodate the existing products that are used in other G20 countries. These products do not work in Canada the way they work in the other G20 countries. So, talking in detail about those products is beyond the scope of this discussion, but I will now segue into my description about IQRAZ. We spent many years to develop a product structure, which is a monthly murabaha product structure based on the concept of tawarruq, which is a Sharia compliant concept and which is approved by the global AOFI standards and is used by every single Islamic bank and financial institution in the world. So we have applied this concept to halal mortgages in Canada, and we got Sharia approval on this based on the fact that we basically proved to our Sharia board that none of the other product structures are working in Canada without imposing significant risks or costs either now or in the future. So Alhamdulillah, Iqraz has a Sharia compliant product, and I will now take you through our website, and this will be a 5 to 7 minute, I would say about 7 minute presentation. And I will use the website as a presentation to guide you through Iqraz's structure and some of the important points, how you can apply, and some of the FAQs that are answered commonly, that are asked commonly and which we need to answer. So basically, if you go to iqraz.com, this is our landing page. And as I was mentioning, we have a halal product, and this product is 100% Sharia compliant. So you can view our certificate on the website. It's very important when people ask us, how do we know that you are truly Sharia compliant? Who is your scholars? In order to verify the Sharia compliance of a company, two things are important. Well, three things. One, that they have a Sharia compliance certificate, such as this one that EQRAZ has. The other thing that is important is who is this company's Sharia board? If you see our website, our Sharia board is listed on the website. And Alhamdulillah, I can tell you that our Sharia board includes some of the most well-known and well-respected scholars across the world. Mufti Irshad Ahmad Ejaz is one of the top 10 senior scholars in the world. He is the chairman of Pakistan State Bank's Islamic Board. Mufti Faraz Adam is a UK-based scholar, extremely well-versed in the history of Islamic finance in UK and what happens in Islamic finance in G20 countries. He is also the chairman of the board of one of the other Canadian halal financing companies. And then we have Sheikh Muhammad Ahmad. He is based in Germany, Sheikh Salah, and then Sheikh Rafat al-Shalabi. Some people ask us the questions, which madahib and fiqh of As-Sunnah wal Jama'ah do you cover? Uh, Even though our scholars, the first three are Hanafi and Hanbali and Maliki. But we are compliant by AOFI standards, and AOFI standards are based on the ijma of 40 and more scholars from all four schools of all the four madahib. So we are compliant by all of the madahib. So this is the part that I would like to confirm about the Sharia compliance. The second thing that I would like to talk to you about, which is very important, is Sharia compliance is not enough. Sharia compliance is only 50% of the story, guys. The second 50% of the story is, are the halal mortgages that we are getting, are they compliant with Canadian law? So every company will have its own backup to confirm whether they are compliant with Canadian law or not and how they are compliant. The way EQRAZ likes to back it up is that we have a tax opinion from a from a Canadian law firm, which has been verified and vetted by other law firms. It's been vetted by Canadian banks and other third parties. This tax opinion, it's a confidential document, usually a tax opinion, but I am just showing to you that this is what we prepared and submitted to one of our investors, which was CWB Bank, with whom we have a wakala arrangement, and I will discuss that later because a lot of people will suddenly ask, okay, why are you working with a bank? So I will address that in a bit. But for us, I can tell you beyond 100% doubt, beyond any doubt, with 100% assurity, EQRAZ is Sharia compliant, and EQRAZ is compliant with all Canadian tax and other laws, such that our customers, their halal financing and their tax returns are safe, and they will not have any surprises either now or in the next few years, inshallah ta'ala. Now, I would like to talk about how you approach the EQRAZ product. So, if you want an EQRAZ financing, all you do is you go to EQRAZ website, you click Apply Now. I will go back to the website. If you want to see our rates, you can see the rates here. This is the rates as of February 2025. We will update these rates every week, actually. And as you can see, only in the last 2 months, we have reduced our rates. Our 5-year rate has reduced by by 50 basis points, so 0.5%, and our 2-year rate has reduced by more than 1% just in the last 2 months. And we are working very hard to reduce the rates as much as possible. And inshallah, as we grow in our portfolio size, as we issue more and more mortgages, inshallah, the rates will come down because it is a matter of volumes. The investors will give better financing as Islamic finance companies grow bigger and bigger. And I will address that in the Q&A or maybe later if I have time. So coming back, applying for an EQRAZ mortgage is very easy. You just click on the apply button. You will go through this process of filling out all this information and so on and so forth. You click here, and then it will take you to a few steps. It will then take you through a mortgage calculator about which you can click on and fill all the numbers. It will tell you what the minimum income requirement is. If you have this requirement, you then talk about what kind of employment, then it tells you what documents you must have listed. I understand this. Next, it then shows you a few documents that you should read if you can. Otherwise, Naveed or one of our other mortgage brokers will be there to assist you through this application. Then you proceed to application. So this is our screening process before we actually take you to the third party application portal. And there's a reason for that. We get more than 100 calls per day. And it's extremely important for us to be able to screen the people who are qualifying for our mortgage before we pass them to our mortgage portal. When you are in this portal, it's a further 5-minute process. Your application gets registered in our systems, and within one day, if not the same day, somebody will come to you, call you, and take you through and get your mortgage approved within 5 days. In order to um, understand how EQRAZ mortgage works, I will just tell you this is the very critical page right now. We are changing the website structure to make it more simpler. You go to EQRAZ.com, choose mortgage information. Here, mortgage term sheet. This document will tell you what is our mortgage terms. So I will just take you briefly through our mortgage terms, that you need 80% loan to financing to value, and 20% down payment is required. We amortize over 25 years. You can get 1 through 5 year of mortgage. Murabaha rates are shown, and the Murabaha rate is finalized at the time that you sign the Murabaha agreement with us. We will charge you payment every month on the 10th of every month. You are allowed to make early payments, and you can make 20% additional payment, which means you can actually pay off your mortgage in 5 years' time if you want, without any kind of penalties and so on and so forth. Brother Naveed will talk more about the mortgage terms and things like that. So I will not go further more into that. The other thing that I would like to really talk about is what differentiates EQRAZ from other companies that have tried to do this over the last 20 years, and why they did not necessarily, what are the challenges that these companies have faced? Brothers and sisters, the biggest challenge for any halal mortgage business in Canada that has been tried to launch for the last 30 years has been access to scalable funding. There are companies right now which work as cooperatives, where you put a down payment or a deposit, and then you have to wait 1 year for your turn to come, maybe longer. Of course, that is not scalable. Then there are certain companies who are using like a private exchange traded fund to collect money from the public. And as they get money from the public, as money becomes available, they issue mortgages. This is also, of course, not scalable because it is limited how much money can come from the public. The third way people do is that there are a couple of companies that tie themselves with a credit union. Unfortunately, there is restrictions to that, even though the funding with credit unions is quite cheap. But the problem is that every credit union is restricted to that province only. And the other problem is credit unions funding is also not unlimited. It is also limited funding. The only way the only way to get access to unlimited funding in Canada is to be able to access funding from the banks in Canada in a Sharia compliant halal way. What do I mean by that? If the only parties that have access to scaled, cheap, very cheap, in fact, free financing is the Canadian Schedule A, Schedule B banks, licensed, regulated banks. All of you must have a bank account right now. So, for example, if one of you has a bank account of $10,000 in CIBC as a current account, and you are not taking any interest, your money right now is being used by CIBC to issue interest bearing, riba bearing haram products. So your money, unfortunately, without your intention, is being used to finance interest bearing credit cards, mortgages, and so on. What EQRAZ has been able to do, and we are the first and only ones, alhamdulillah, and I hope that other companies are able to do this because it is in all our best interests that this is a good marketplace with many companies and many competitors, which is good for the customer and it makes our community and industry strong. What we have accomplished is that we have been able to develop an A to Z infrastructure of Sharia compliant process and documentation, where not only is our agreement with the customer Sharia compliant, but our funding from the banks is through a Sharia compliant, AOFI compliant Wakala structure. And you can Google Wakala structures. You can ask your Sheikh about the Wakala structure. It's a very commonly used structure. We impose two conditions on the bank who is funding us. A, there will be no interest on this because it's through a Wakala. B, the bank will not give us any money that they have earned from interest. They will only give us money that is coming from your interest-free customer deposits. So in this, I am actually very proud that EQRAZ is accomplishing two positive things, which I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us sawab for and encouragement for and benefit for. One, we are trying to offer the halal financing to our customers and community, allowing them to buy their halal homes rather than be stuck with rentals. The second, and more important actually on a big community basis, we are routing funds from the riba-based world. Rather than allowing the deposits to go into riba, we are routing those funds towards halal financing. And this is something which is very important. Every time a customer takes a halal mortgage, they are actually part of this benefit to the community, that they are making the Islamic finance community stronger by routing more and more funding to Islamic finance. This is the main points that I would like to discuss about the EQRAZ product. I do want to clarify to everyone that we are now available in all provinces, alhamdulillah. We have licensed in all the provinces. We have closing lawyers in all the provinces. And you can now immediately get a halal mortgage in all provinces. There is a few things now very quickly I'd like to address because I want to anticipate people's questions. Why is halal mortgages more expensive? Why is EQRAZ more expensive? Guys, I have put, if you go to the insights page, the first here is why are halal mortgages more expensive? So there are many, many reasons that halal mortgages are expensive. Very briefly, the cost of halal financing is more expensive. Why? Because the banks, through the Wakala structure, have to take on a lot more risk for Sharia compliance because the structure requires the lender or financier to take more risk. So they need more risk premium. That's one reason. Second reason, supply and demand. Right now, we have 100 times more demand, maybe 1,000 times more demand than supply. So when there is less supply of capital, it becomes more expensive. And the third reason, in order to administer an entire company to be Sharia compliant, it is not just having the right documents. We have to get our Sharia board to monitor every transaction that we do, not just with the customers, but with third parties as well. So this adds to the cost of Sharia financing, but inshallah, with time, it will go down. So these are the main points that I wanted to point out to you guys. And with this, I will pass on to my very good friend and my colleague, Brother Naveed Malik, who is a mortgage agent with 30 years and more of experience. And he will discuss with you more of the mechanics and the analysis around mortgages. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu
Jazakallah, Brother Zahir. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Zahir, just a quick question for you. Did you want to talk about the Murabaha structure, like the actual about EQRAZ, or did you want to answer that in the Q&A?
I can talk about the Murabaha structure briefly right now. And the reason I did not talk about it is because for 90% of our customers, when they see that we have the Sharia compliance and the scholars are very high caliber scholars, usually they are comfortable with that. However, I will explain to you the product structure. So brothers and sisters, EQRAZ's product is based on a monthly Murabaha structure, which is based on a Tawarruk structure. What it means is you come and apply for a mortgage. We issue you a commitment letter, just like a typical Canadian commitment letter. And the commitment letter will tell you the monthly payment schedule over the next 25 years. but the term of the mortgage is 1 through 5 years only. Now, every month, EQRAZ will conduct, so we also, before the closing, sign a Murabaha agreement. The Murabaha agreement basically states that EQRAZ and the customer will conduct a monthly Murabaha transaction using strictly Sharia compliant halal assets like platinum or something similar to that. We will conduct a Murabaha transaction every month, which creates the halal profit. Instead of interest, it creates a halal profit by doing this Murabaha transaction, and then EQRAZ will charge that halal profit and the principal every month after doing that Murabaha transaction. So the end result to the customer is it is the same payment schedule as would be in a typical musharaka mortgage, where you have a principal and a rental payment, or in a conventional mortgage, you have a principal and interest payment. But in EQRAZ, you have a principal and Murabaha profit payment at the end of every month. And after 5 years, either you pay off the remaining principal and close the mortgage, or you pay off, or you extend it by another 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, and you can extend it as many times until the amortization of 25 years is completed. So in this way, the main benefit is that we are, because of the monthly Murabaha structure, the main benefit is that it complies with Canadian law, unlike the simple Murabaha and Musharaka products, which attract, if they are implemented the way our lawyers believe it should be implemented, they attract a lot of capital gains and land transfer taxation, and there's a lot of ownership, joint ownership issues. This product avoids all of that, and it allows for us to set the rate, reset the rate in accordance with market rates every time the product is being renewed. The reason we are able to reset the rate is because Islamic finance requires that the rate is agreed between the two parties before the Murabaha transaction is conducted. Because our Murabaha transaction is conducted every month, we can actually reset the rate as frequently as every month if we want. But this is getting into too much detail. All I will say is that EQRAZ's product structure is based on a monthly Murabaha transaction. When you get the mortgage issued, we give you the money. If you want, for example, a 500,000 mortgage, you will sign the commitment letter. We will then sign the Murabaha agreement. And then on the day of closing, we give you the $500,000. You will then directly buy the house in your name. It is your house. We are not partners. We are not sharik in the house because this is not a musharaka. It is 100% your house. You buy the house and we register the mortgage, which is in Arabic called a rahan, against your house to secure our payments. And that is how the product structure works. When you have closed the mortgage, when you have paid off the payments completely, then we discharge or cancel the rahan, we discharge the mortgage, and the house remains yours. So the title is in your name, the house is fully yours. If the house price goes up, 100% your gain. If the house price goes down, 100% your loss. We are not interested in the house price. We are only interested to secure the stream of payments that is promised to EQRAZ under the Murabaha agreement. God forbid, there is a problem with payments, you go through a tough time, you have an issue, I hope never happens to any one of us that you lose your job or something happens. Our third-party servicing partner will work with you to restructure the payments and to assist you and work with you to make sure that we help you as much as possible during the distress. There is a late payment fee. However, the main difference between conventional finance and Sharia finance, that any late payment fee that we charge you over and above our cost has to go to charity. And our Sharia board ensures that all late payment profits go to charity after we deduct our administrative costs. So I think, Naveed, have I explained the product structure sufficiently, you think, or is there anything that you would like me further to elaborate on before I pass on to you?
I think we're good. I've noticed that there are some questions in the chat, which I think you addressed a few of them. I will attempt to address the other ones. I think it's best if maybe I will continue here for about 5 to 7 minutes, inshallah, brothers and sisters. And inshallah, from there, we will move forward to Q&A. So Jazakallah, Brother Zahir. Jazakallah, Brother Omar, for reaching out and giving me the opportunity to speak to the community that's interested in Sharia compliant financing. Just a brief history on myself. I joined the financing industry in June of 1992, right out of high school, and I've been working with financial institution, mainly RBC, since that time period until 2019, when I left to become a mortgage agent. So I've been very fortunate to have been in the financing world, in the real estate world, in the mortgage world, actively since 1997. So I've been very fortunate to see many peaks, many valleys. I've seen everything. When rates, I remember when I first started in 1997, overnight lending rate, the economy was increasing every meeting, and it was going to record highs. To the point where I woke up on October 31st, 2008, and the world was basically collapsing. Everyone was leaving their cars at the Dubai airport and hopping on a flight and leaving. It was, I've seen rates where, there were very, very high to very low. I've seen house pricing very low to where they are today. So my goal today is to basically help everyone understand the importance of investing in real estate. Now, I'm a mortgage agent. I basically provide financial advice to clients. I guide them to what they need to do to be able to purchase a home in Canada and what benefits they will get from it. Brother Omar is a real estate agent who basically shows you the home and moves forward from there. And obviously, Brother Zahir is the lender. So I have no invested interest in anything that I'm going to basically share with you. Anything I do share with you is basically my opinion based on my experience. And it is from, a Muslim brother to a Muslim brother, sister, friendly advice. And feel free to reach out to me after as well to discuss any of this stuff. So what I'm going to do, what I thought would be best is to attempt to answer some of the questions in the Q&A, which I think I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to show an internal calculator that we've created to help individuals understand the importance of investing in real estate, number one, and number two, a direct cost comparison. And the reason why I want to do this is because the number one reason or number one question that I get is why is Sharia compliant financing so expensive? Or moreover, why is EQRAZ charging so much of a profit rate? Okay, so being a mortgage specialist with RBC for 19 plus years, at the top of my game, alhamdulillah, based on the community and the support, everyone has reached out to me around, is there any way we can do Sharia compliant financing? Is there anything that we can do? How can we make this easier for the community, et cetera? So that's when I left 2019 to join DLC, and my paths were I was able to cross paths with Zahir. So Jazakallah, Zahir, for including me part of your success, inshallah. So I'm going to share my screen here. Just give me 1 second here to make sure. Okay, so I'm assuming everyone can see my screen. So this is a calculator which we designed to help everyone, the listeners, to understand what real estate is today. What I was able to do is for the participants on this call was mainly geared towards Nova Scotia at the time. Brother Omar is also from Nova Scotia, an active realtor there. And so what I did was I reached out to Brother Omar and I did some more research on my own as well. And I wanted to give you a realistic example versus just talking numbers, okay? Because reality is the key. We need to, anything I talk about has to be real. So what I learned from Brother Omar is that the average home price in Nova Scotia, in my opinion, from what I was looking at, is in and around $550,000. Not only is that an average home price, but it's a home that I would want to live in with my family. Okay, so I'm looking for 3-bedroom, I'm looking for basement, I'm looking for garage, I'm looking for location, I'm looking for close to the masjid, I'm looking for close to the region with respect to schooling for my children. If they go to Islamic school, great. If they don't, if they go to a public school, I need to ensure that that school is ranked. Okay, I need to make sure that there's a bus service available for the children that want to be able to get around the city. I want to make sure that if I'm not home, my wife, kids, etc., if they need to visit the local stores, etc., it's fairly close and everything is around. So basically what I'm looking for is location. And real estate, number one rule, as everyone will tell you, is location, location, location. Okay, so in my research, a location that the Nova Scotia community would be looking for, the average price point, in my opinion, living in Ontario, is in and around the 550,000 mark. Okay, so in order to be able to apply for a mortgage, Sharia compliant financing mortgage with EQRAZ, you minimum requirement is 20%. Therefore, 550, 20% is 110. Your net mortgage amount will be 440,000.
Brother Naveed, sorry, I just wanted to confirm that you're talking about Nova Scotia, correct?
Yes.
Because you mentioned the pricing for Ontario. So just wanted to clarify,
Okay.
is this
Yeah.
for
No
Nova
problem.
Scotia
Yeah.
or Ontario?
Yeah.
Correct.
I mentioned
Nova
I was living in
Scotia, yes.
Ontario, so
Yeah.
I'll avoid that. Thank you for
Yeah.
clarity purposes. Yes, we are still talking about Nova Scotia. And this is the average price of homes, in my opinion, in Nova Scotia. And anyone else that lives in different regions, that this is an average purchase price, or if they're looking for this purchase price, can also follow along. And this calculator will allow me to adjust some numbers as well. So Jazakallah Zahir for that. This is average pricing in Nova Scotia, from my opinion, based on my research with Brother Omar and doing some work. So 550,000, 20% down equals 440. What I've decided to do is I've used a 2-year, in this example, I've used a 2-year profit rate. The 2-year profit rate, which was just posted yesterday, because EQRAZ posts a weekly basis, is 8.14. Now, if the reason why I personally recommend that we go into a 2-year contract is because I can see the trend of where we are going, where Sharia compliant financing will be in the next 2 to 5 years. And given the support that we're going to, inshallah, get from the community, we will be able to do enough business where the profit rate will drop. So my recommendation is no need to invest in a long term when we know that the rates potentially are on a downward trend, and or our infiltration into the Canadian market as a Sharia compliant provider of financing should allow us to lower that profit rate. So hence, my example today on this webinar is a 2-year example of 8.14%. Therefore, we'll go down to here where it says cash outflow, monthly payment. Your monthly payment on $440,000 at a profit rate of 8.14 is $3,398. That is your monthly obligation. That is your payment that you will make if you were to take a Sharia compliant financing mortgage for $440,000. If we take that number, we simply multiply it by 24, over the next 2 years, you will have paid $81,541. However, rest assured that $11,988, so principal paid over term. So over those 24 months, although you've paid $3,398 a month, totaling 81,000 for the next 2 years, $11,988 is your money. It's your principal. That 440 has now dropped by in and around 12,000. You're at about 428,000. So you're actually getting something back from that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, if you just move to the right of this graph, you'll see rent. Okay. I also did some research in Nova Scotia, and I said, well, if I wanted to live in a home like that, but I couldn't afford $3,398 a month, what would it cost me to rent a home which has location, 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 close to the masjid, wherever it needs to be? So therefore, I realized that the average rent is in and around $2,500 per month. Okay. So if you're paying $2,500 a month over the next 24 months, your net cash out of pocket is $60,750. And the reason why we did that is because annual rent increase is generally 2.5%. We need to put a number in there. We put in 2.5%. We're welcome to adjust that number to whatever someone wants to adjust it to. However, it's basically $60,750. So although you're paying $81,541, you would be paying $60,750. Now, I'm going to roll down here and house value increase. So I've looked at, I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball. I cannot tell the future. I don't know where real estate and the market will go. I have zero idea. And if anyone says they know, they don't know. You probably want to run from them as far as you can.
And probably, Naveed, I'd want to interject. Who knows what's going to happen with the tariffs imposed from our friend Trump, maybe.
Absolutely, yeah, potentially. So lots of variables, we don't know. However, what we do know is what has already happened. And so when we know, and if we know what has already happened, we can then make an assessment or a judgment, an educated guess on what potentially could happen moving forward. Okay, so depending on what time period you want to look at, you can look at 10 years ago, you can look at 25 years ago, 50 years ago, and then compare it to today. So whatever that number is, you're welcome to do the research. I have some numbers which I can also answer with you, which I will attempt to during my presentation here with you right now. I have learned that the Nova Scotia market has been increasing in and around 5% per year. These are historical, factual numbers. No one can disagree with these numbers. These are the numbers. Therefore, in 2 years, today, 2 years from today, if you were to purchase the exact home we're talking about right now for $550,000, that home will be worth in 24 months, based on the annual percentage increase, should be selling in and around $606,375. So essentially, $56,000 more than today. So if you entered into a home in Nova Scotia for $550,000 today, you would essentially be purchasing that home for $56,000 less, assuming a 5% annual increase. Okay, this is just a general idea which I'm giving everyone. Now we need to find out, okay, that's the case. Let's crunch those numbers a little bit more. So let's understand cash spent. So now we spent $81,541, which was confirmed from here, which is our payment. So we paid $33.98, multiplied it by 24, boom, $81,000. However, let's find out what our actual cost is. Well, we saved $11,988 in 2 years. That's our principal that was paid. In addition to that, based on a 5% increase, we've confirmed that we've earned $56,000 in equity gain. So $550 to $606, basically $56,000. So we have been able to gain $68,000 worth of equity or value, or whatever you want to call it. And if we move over to the right, you'll see that your cost is $60,750. So then what I have done in this exact example is I've taken what would have cost me of $60,000, $750, and I've learned that my savings is net $13,000. Okay, so my net savings over the time period is $47,573.
I'll just clarify that, Brother Naveed. Basically, the cost for renting is $60,750 over 2 years. However, the cost of purchasing at today's halal mortgage rate that EQRAZ is offering, and with the assumption that property price will go up over 5% over the next 2 years, this is based on all the historical and current trends, as well as a lot of articles that the real estate associations and so on are stating. If you purchase the property, your net cost is $13,177. If you rent, your net cost is $60,000. So your saving is the 60 minus the 13. And if you go down, Brother Naveed, you are saving $47,000, 573 over 2 years, if you choose to take a halal mortgage at the 8.19%. Brother Naveed, did I say that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Just
That's
wanted
correct.
to make
Jazakallah.
sure that we understand
Yeah,
what you were saying.
absolutely. So what I wanted to do is add more. So then what I did was I looked at a home for 550 in Nova Scotia. And the reason why I said that I would want to move into this home for 550 with my family, as you know, I mentioned location, and then I mentioned location again. So three times location because it's very important. But I also looked for location because I want to be able to make sure that my property is marketable. So in entering into a contract with EQRAZ, for example, you own the property 100% and you have the ability to terminate the contract as any conventional bank you would be able to terminate. So you would pay 3 months profit or 3 months profit rate differential, whatever is higher. Exactly standard, just like any standard mortgage. Okay, in the country, any conventional mortgage. So the home that I wanted to buy from my research in Nova Scotia, 550, the reason why I went to 550 was because I learned that a property of that size of 550 would allow me to earn additional money. And so how would a property allow me to earn more money? Well, if you can see in this chart here, I've created a cash inflow. So what I did was, with Brother Omar's assistance, I asked him, I said, hey, give me an idea, how much for a property for 550, would I be able to potentially rent out my basement if I had a separate entrance, if I made arrangements for a 1-bedroom with a kitchen bathroom and it was legal, or can I make it legal if I wanted to in the future? Would 550 basically get me into something like that? He said, absolutely, yes, we can certainly find something. So I said, okay, how much do you think I'd get for a 1-bedroom? So based on market research, I was able to conclude that $1,200 was a reasonable amount of monies that could be earned on a monthly basis from a basement apartment in Nova Scotia. Okay, so that is $1,200 that's coming in monthly, which is $28,800 over the next 24 months. So now we have to go down into the calculation, our net cost. So it costs us $81,000 in payments. But now, because we were able to rent out the basement, we've been able to earn $28,800. So our net cash spent is $52,000. Okay, and so in that $52,000, now if you look at the numbers at the bottom, your rent is $60,750. Your net monthly cash flow, which was negative prior to this earning ability, is now positive at $650. And your net savings for the purchase is actually $76,373. So basically what I'm trying to say is, by looking at this calculator, it is fair to assume that owning real estate, irrespective of the profit rate, let's just disregard that. We can adjust this rate to whatever we need to adjust it to. We can adjust the term to whatever you want to adjust it to. We can adjust this income, et cetera. At the end of the day, what we are basically concluding that investing in real estate, and I'm going to finish with this because I realize we're running out of time, is what I'm basically saying, that real estate is a valuable, appreciating investment and has been based on historical facts. Historical facts confirm exactly what I've just said, that real estate is a valuable, appreciating investment. You need to make an investment into your future for you and for your family by looking at real estate the halal way, and I'm confident that EQRAZ's product will allow for you to do that. Having said that, I will stop sharing my screen at this point. I apologize, I haven't looked at the chat. However, maybe we can look at that and move forward.
Jazakallah khair for your time. Very informative. We have quite a few questions. We're going to try to address them all. So we can proceed with the questions, I guess. Zuhair?
Yes, brother. Would you do it in an interview panel style? Because it'll be easier if you can just read out each question and who asked the question, and then Naveed or I can answer as applicable.
Okay, Bismillah. So first question. Is it Omar, you're going to do that? Omar? Or myself?
Assalamualaikum. Yes, definitely. I can jump in here and assist. So thank you all for dropping your questions in the chat. There's a lot of questions that are that have been repeated by a number of you. So we'll go through the questions that have been asked in the greatest volume and highest frequency. The first one is, Zuhair, what happens in the event of death? If the owner of the loan passes away, what takes place with the mortgage, and what are the steps that EQRAZ goes through to help with that transition?
First of all, I pray that may Allah give all our customers very, very good health and very long life, inshallah. In the case of death, the treatment is the same as for any conventional mortgage, where the customer will have an estate, and the estate will then, the mortgage will basically transfers to the estate or the heirs of the customer, and they have the same obligations to pay off the mortgage. And if in any case, whether the customer, due to death, due to job loss, due to anything, if they are not able to make the payment, generally our servicing partner, which is CMLS Financial, they are the third largest servicer in Canada. They have a $60 billion mortgage portfolio and service many, many lenders. They will work with our customer to help them restructure the payments as best as possible. But brothers, I have to be honest, ultimately, if payment just does not come despite the restructuring, then we will be forced to call the mortgage and use that, which means we have to take over the home, sell the home, recover our funds, and then anything that is left over after recovery of the funds and legal fees, it goes to the customer or to the estate. And this is the same for all halal versus or riba mortgages across the world. There is no difference.
I just want to add to that really quickly. I found that our Muslim clientele, obviously the research that we've done, fairly educated and knowledgeable. And also we plan a lot and we know what's happening in the future. In the event that of an untimely situation does occur, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I can give you some advice. But mainly what happens is we'll give you your options. If you sell today, this is how much equity, so the equity that you put in, the equity you built up, etc., can be used to facilitate what you need to facilitate. And we can obviously help and get you through payments, etc. And then moving forward, if you don't take the advice and sell and control everything, then the lender will take control, and then you have additional costs, etc. So we'll obviously, I would love to give advice for any client that needs that advice to know how to protect themselves in the event of job loss, untimely situation, whatever the case may be. Feel free to reach out to us. I've been doing this for 30 years. It's very easy, quick for me to respond to, and we're here to help you and guide you, inshallah.
Thank you guys for that answer. We have someone who has their hand up, Majdi. So if anyone wants to ask a question, instead of putting your hands up, you guys can drop it in the Q&A tab at the bottom, and we'll go over it, inshallah. So the second question is, and this has been commonly asked, if there's a loss of a job or a downturn in the economy, and you know, payments are being missed, what happens and how does
We
EQRAZ
just
manage
answered
that?
that question, Brother Omar. It's basically we will work with the customer to restructure their payments as best as possible. I think
Okay.
that was already answered.
Yes, yes. I just wanted
there a late
to
payment fee? Sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
You mentioned that as well, Zuhair. There's a late payment fee, and
Yeah, we
you
talked about that also, that
absorb the
there's a late
cost.
payment fee.
Yes.
And anything, the late payment fee goes to charity after just deducting our administrative costs.
Oh.
And the reason we do have the late payment fee, which we pay to charity, is because if we don't do that, then customers will have an incentive to keep delaying payments. It's called moral hazard, and we want to avoid that.
The third question that's been often asked in the chat is, can you facilitate for investments or purchasing investment properties, or are you right now limited to only personal residence?
So right now, because the demand is extremely high, and our intention is to help the community get their halal primary residence first, we are right now addressing only primary residence applications. Investment property is a bit of a luxury right now, so we prefer to avoid that at the moment. We want to first fulfill the demand for halal primary residences so people can have their homes.
Thank you. And the fourth one, and then after this, we'll shift to more specific questions in the chat. This is another one that's come up a lot in the chat, which is amortization can you extend to 30 years? And the second question is, what is the minimum down payment?
The amortization right now is 25 years. We are not able to extend it at the moment. We know that CMHC has changed rules to allow for 30-year mortgages, but this is mostly for insured mortgages. No halal mortgages are insured in Canada, including EQRAZ. So our amortization, unfortunately, has to remain 25 years. The good thing about having a shorter amortization is that the total profit that you pay over the entire amortization is actually lower. Even though your monthly payment goes down a little bit, with longer amortization, the total profit you pay goes up because your loan is longer, your financing is longer. So we have a 25-year amortization. Down payment is 20%. And again, this is not an EQRAZ requirement. It's a regulatory requirement for non-insured mortgages. So 20% of the property. So if you're buying a 500,000 property, you have to pay 100,000 down payment.
Thank you so
I mean,
much. Yeah, go ahead, Brother
maybe
Ahmed,
just
go
to
ahead.
clarify, so again, because we're not insured, it has to be 20% versus, I guess, traditional mortgage, you can pay less than 20%, but you have to insure your property, right? It's this difference here.
No. We are
No?
talking about mortgage insurance. So everybody
Okay.
has to always
Insure
insure
them.
their properties under
Just want to
Canadian
clarify,
law.
yes.
When I say insured means in Canada, you have mortgages that are insured by the government, which is called CMHC insurance. And in that case, you can get as much as low as 5% down payment. This is mostly issued by insured lenders. But no halal mortgages in Canada are insured. So for uninsured mortgages, which are not insured by the government, you need 20% down payment. It's nothing to do with the actual home or renter's insurance or landlord's
Thanks,
insurance.
Jazakallah for
Thank
clarifying. I
you
want
for
to make sure
clarifying.
everyone understands that. Yes.
Thank you so much. So I'll go back to Mejdi since he had his hand up, and he did ask an interesting question in the chat here. What is the difference between you and the bank if the property will be in his name? There might be more context to that question, but it does seem a little bit loaded. I'm not sure if you want to take a stab at it.
The difference, brother, always, it's a very generic and general point. The property being in your name is not an issue. It's a good thing. In halal Sharia financing, the structure of the financing must be Sharia compliant. There must be no riba. There cannot be just a loan and interest. The structure must be in such a way that any money forwarded to you by the lender per se or by financier is not interest based. There is no interest charged on it. Any profit that the lender charges you must be based on either a rental, such as a musharaka, or based on a asset-backed transaction, which is a murabaha. Murabaha can be on the house itself, which is a simple murabaha product where the lender buys the house, then sells it to you at a profit. That's a simple murabaha. Or murabaha can be on anything, any halal asset, as I mentioned. What the word murabaha means is a cost plus profit sale. So when a lender sells you anything, whether it is a house or whether it is any halal asset, they can charge you a profit. So whose house the name is under, who's on the title is not relevant. What's relevant is that the financing structure must be Sharia compliant. And that's the difference between us and the bank.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going through a list of additional questions here. There's a theme of questions that keep popping up on the question of murabaha, and one in particular is asking for clarity on partnership equity. So how is the murabaha with Platinum done? Is it like partnership equity?
Brother, the way the murabaha works, and again, you should look at Google the concept of tawarruq. EQRAZ purchases platinum or halal commodity must be Sharia compliant. So there are certain commodities that are allowed, certain commodities not allowed. EQRAZ purchases commodity that is both Sharia compliant and that does not attract HST in Canada. We then buy that commodity from the markets. Either it could be London Metals Exchange or Bursa Salika in Malaysia or anything. We then sell it to the customer at a profit. and then the customer will sell it back in the market at the original price. And this completes the transaction, and it creates a halal profit for EQRAZ, halal loss for the customer. It's a very simple structure to conceptually, because it's been used in 40 years by every single Islamic bank in the world. Every bank uses it. More than $100 billion of this transaction happens daily. I would suggest, and also the customers don't feel anything, because once the murabaha is issued and the financing issued, you don't have to get involved. You will appoint an agent, a wakil on your behalf, to work with us for those commodity transactions. And our Sharia board monitors every month that the transaction is happening properly in accordance with the Sharia law, and that it is not a fake transaction, that it is a real transaction with real commodity being exchanged. And this is how it works. And there is a lot of information on the internet. And also, please go to our website, EQRAZ.com. And if you go to EQRAZ.com here and go to the FAQ videos page, if you go through these videos, there's only 6 videos there, brothers and sisters. Our Sharia scholars have directly explained how the product structure of EQRAZ works, how are the halal financing structures established in Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma and Ijtihad, and what are the EOF standards? What is Tawarruk, our structure, which I just explained? How does EQRAZ maintain Sharia compliance if it is taking money from a bank or a credit union? Or what about the amortization schedule? It seems to be similar to riba. So all of this is answered directly in 5 to 7 minute videos by our scholars in English, Arabic, and Urdu. And if you go to the French website, si vous parlez français, ils sont répondus en français aussi. They are in French as well from our French scholars. So I hope this will answer the question about the product structure. I would suggest, Omar, that we let customers go through the FAQ videos before we delve further on the product structure.
Absolutely. You took your time and explained that in depth anyways. So before I ask the next question, just a reminder for everyone, there's a lot of questions about Sharia compliance. This call has been recorded. We'll share this call via email so that you can tune back into the part where Zuhair walked us through the Sharia compliance regarding across products and the advisors that we have on the board who are muftis who've helped us go through that process. So this next question is, I think, more for you, Naveed, but then also Zuhair as well. For current homeowners, if they want to shift off a traditional mortgage from a bank and come to EQRAZ, how do they do that? What's that process like?
Yeah, Jazakallah for the question. Thank you very much. It's very simple. Obviously, as Zuhair mentioned, go to the website. There's an apply here button. Just hit apply, complete the application. Once the application is completed, it'll come into our office. I personally will be looking at the application. I will be reaching out to you directly, and I will be gathering documentation to validate the information which was submitted on the application. We at EQRAZ has the limitations as to what they're able to do. So yes, we can switch your mortgage in. And we can, so for example, if you have a $300,000 mortgage currently at RBC, you would like to come to EQRAZ, fill out the application, we will lend the $300,000. I did notice in the chat, someone had mentioned that they also have a car loan for about $20,000 to $30,000 or whatever that number may be. Unfortunately, we are restricted to only transferring the mortgage only. If there are any fees or anything that are incurred by switching from the other lender, where there is a nominal amount that we're able to include into that amount. So for example, if someone's charged $4,000 as a penalty, we can certainly request for $304,000 to be switched over. Hope that answers the question.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that concludes the questions that I'm seeing come in on our end. Maybe you would like to, yeah, go ahead, Zuhair.
Brother Omar, there's about 10 or 15 more questions on the Q&A that I see.
If you want to call out the name, and then I'll read it out for you. If you want to read out the question, then definitely go for it.
To make it quicker, since we're out of time, if you don't mind, I can quickly read the questions
Sure,
one by one.
go for it.
Just quickly go through them. So Brother Adlan Ajdaud asked, Salam, could you please speak about late payment? We have already spoken about that. about the late payment. And so I will move on. Brother Hussein, LMC, what are the sources of your money? What are the names of the banks? So guys, brother, I will answer that question quickly. We have multiple sources, banks, private investors, other investors. And what's important to know, all of the money always comes from a wakala agreement in a strictly halal Sharia compliant way. So we don't go back all the way to the end with, for example, if a private investor is giving us $5 million, we make sure that we get that money in a halal way, just like all Islamic banks. If a customer deposits money in an Islamic bank, then the Islamic banks takes that deposit and make sure that it's Islamic, but there's a limit to how far you go down. And this is not required under Sharia AOFI laws. So we make sure our money is halal, and whatever sources we are getting it from, it is not coming in a riba-based way. With the banks, we do make sure that the money is coming from non-interest-based customer deposits. Again, our Sharia board does annual audits on us. In fact, they have quarterly reviews as well. And we work with any banks that we work with, we make sure that it is not interest-based funds.
Brother Zahir, I'm just going to step in here really quickly. Thanks for that recap, because I think we have answered most of the questions that Omar has mentioned. I just wanted to make a couple comments here. That EQRAZ is we're just like any conventional mortgage product or anything. And no Muslim client that's going to deal with us is not going to get any benefits that are already offered to everyone else. So I'm going to give you an example. RSPs. Are you allowed to use RSPs to purchase a home? Absolutely, you are. Just like everyone else, they're allowed to take out $35,000 tax-free. Yes, you can also do that with EQRAZ. So there are zero restrictions. So as I mentioned, my history, I've been in finance and with RBC for 25 plus years. And I've had many people approach me when it comes to Sharia compliant financing and, how do we do it, et cetera. And when I met with Zahir, the first thing I told him, I said, listen, I'm going to age myself here, but I've been around, I've been tired, and I don't want to learn anything else. And the reason why I don't want to learn anything else is I want to make sure everything's simple and easy, that a Muslim brother that comes in, that's asking a question on a Sharia compliant product, I needed to basically be exactly the same that their neighbor who's a non-Muslim, who's not looking for faith-based lending, who's not looking for a Sharia compliant financing, that a Muslim brother has the same flexibility, has the same options. They can use our RRSPs, first-time homebuyer plans, etc. They're going to get the taxable benefits. They're going to get everything. The product must also look the same. So they need to be able to own the home 100%. They need to be able to sell the home at any point in time that they want to. We cannot. I would never advise anyone to invest into a property, into real estate, if they do not have 100% control. They need to be able to sell at a moment's notice if their situation changes, if they need to move, if they need to do whatever. So it needs to look exactly like a conventional mortgage. And mashallah, Zahir has done a great job of doing that. And so primarily, as a result of him being able to do that, I've actually joined on to assist him and our community to do our best to ensure that we can help the community. And for the most part, obviously, I've been around for a while as well. I've seen real estate. I just want to kind of hit this home to everyone, if for those that have joined late possibly, is that real estate, you have to invest in real estate. I went over a very specific example. We were running out of time, so I wasn't able to chat much, so I'm going to go over it really quickly with you. And in April 2020, basically 15 days after COVID started, a property in Nova Scotia was purchased for $420,000. That home today, January 2025, so basically 3 months shy of 5 years, is assessed at $660,000. So the assessment value I learned in Nova Scotia is essentially what the property is worth. So $660,000. So if we take 420 minus 660, that's a net gain of $240,000. And all the person did was buy a house, and it's valued at what it is today at 660. That's $240,000. Well, now everyone's going to say, yeah, brother, that's fair, but there's expenses, there's property taxes, there's insurance. I'm paying all this stuff. So rest assured, when you do rent a property, if you pay $2,500 a month, everyone is paying bills. You must pay water, electricity, etc. That is on you. The only thing you don't pay when you rent is home insurance, which is fire insurance. You do pay content insurance, so we can minus that number out, but let's say we don't. So insurance plus property taxes. So if property taxes are say $4,000 or $5,000 a year. So I basically said, okay, well, let me look at this 240 gain over 5 years, 240,000. I'm going to take off $40,000. Okay. Include commission, real estate, property taxes, whatever the case may be. Now I'm left with 200. So in the last 5 years, less 3 months, the property has increased in value. If I was to sell it net in my pocket, $200,000, which is $40,000 a year, which is $3,300 a month. And the example that I gave in the calculator, your payment was $33.98. It's a difference of $98. So it only cost you $98 a month to live in that home. Everything was paid. And all they did was purchase real estate, buying real estate. So that's in the last 5 years where the market, accelerated aggressively. However, we need to look at historical numbers. So whoever wants to look at a 10-year average, a 15-year average, a 25-year average, etc., those things are important. So I just want to let you know that being a Muslim looking for a halal mortgage does not change your situation. You are exactly the same as your neighbor who is not looking for Sharia or faith-based lending, inshallah. Jazakallah.
There's a few more questions that have come in recently at the chat, on the chat. This might be more so for Naveed for qualification. Which of the following do you consider while evaluating the loan limit? Salary, bonus, RSU, all of the above.
Salary limit. Oh, sorry.
Bonus.
Salary limit and what else?
Sorry, this is for evaluating loan limit. So there's salary, there's bonus, and then the acronym RSU.
I guess probably what impacts the loan
The loan
value,
limit.
I guess.
Yeah.
loan
Okay,
limit.
so I'll answer that very, very quickly. The one thing I forgot to mention when I was doing the calculator for those brothers and sisters that were here for the calculator, in order for you to qualify for a home for $550,000 with a 20% down payment, mortgage of $440,000, your income needs to be in and around $130,000 per year. Zuhair, when he was doing the calculator really quickly, he actually put in 450 and it came up as 133. So for those that were watching that. So 130,000 is essentially required. The question that you asked is a very detailed question around bonus. Will we use bonus? 100%. We follow the exact same guidelines as every lender. We will use a 2-year average. So if you earn bonus, we will use a 2-year average. Lower of the last 2 years. If you if you're paid hourly and you work overtime, we will use a 2-year average for overtime. If you are self-employed, we will use a 2-year average of your T1 General Line 150. If you are a contract individual, if you are a professor at the university and you are on contract every 6 months, your contract is renewed, we will use a 2-year average. Just like every other standard bank out there, we will be on the exact same guidelines. Loan to value, obviously, as we mentioned, was 20% down. I apologize. I'm not familiar with the RSU acronym, so unfortunately, I can't respond unless they want to confirm exactly what they mean by that. However, but just to be clear, we will use income any which way we can get it. In addition to that, we will also use child tax credit. So children under the age of 12, whatever monies are earned on a monthly basis, we will request for 3 months bank statements and confirmation to CRA that money is being earned, and we will include that in our calculation for sure, inshallah. And we follow standard TDS, GDS guidelines like any other bank. GDS 32%, TDS 40%, with exceptions going up to 39%. We will do absolutely everything. Strong recommendation is do not try to assess yourself in an application. Please complete the application. Allow me to go over it with you to confirm that the information you inputted is correct. You may have not put in as much income as you do earn. You may have put too much income that you've earned, and banks don't look at it that way. Allow me to look at options. I also had clients that come into me and say, well, brother, I want to buy a home. I make good money. I can qualify for $600,000, but I only have $80,000. So $80,000 is not going to allow them to even purchase a $500,000 home because you need $100,000 for it. I said to them, well, do you have family? Oh, yes, absolutely. my parents, everyone. I said, are they willing to support you? Are they willing to give you a gift letter? Is this something that you can look at them for, reach out to them for, and would they want to support you? Oh, absolutely. If I reached out to my father and he gifted me 20,000, I said, okay, well, that's great. Well, now you have 100,000. And now you can purchase that home for 500. So there's multiple ways, multiple options, etc. And what I've learned historically in the last 30 years is whenever someone makes a step to purchase a home, parents tend to get very happy and excited that their kids are moving on, and they usually open up their wallet or write a check or put them joint on their bank account, usually, for the most part.
Thank you so much, Naveed. I have just one last comment to make before we close off here. There's been a lot of questions in the chat for along the similar vein as the question you just answered. So Brother Hakeem, the role of credit rating, I think Brother Naveed already discussed. It's the same, valuation that's taking place here. But we'll quickly pivot and share the contact information for each of the panelists, the speakers, so that you can reach out and ask your questions, set up a time for further consultation, or begin your home buying journey. We want to thank Brother Omar Khartabil for hosting this seminar and bringing us all together to help the people of Nova Scotia. The contact information is there. We'll leave it up on the screen for a minute for everyone to take down should you want to reach out to him. And then we have the CEO of EQRAZ. We have Zuhair, who's up there, and his contact information is available, along with Brother Naveed from Mortgage Agent Level 2, if you want to begin evaluating Halal mortgage product for your home purchase. Thank you all so much. The call recording will be shared with you via email shortly after the call, and we'll be open to field any further questions or inquiries anytime they reach out. Thank you all so much.
Jazakumullah
Thank you.
khair. Thank you for your time, and hope we answered most of your questions. If not, like Omar said, reach out to each one of us, and we'll try our best to help you out. Thank you very
And
much.
friends, I would like to thank Brother Omar, Brother Naveed, both Brother Omars actually, for doing this webinar. We do have, inshallah, future series of webinars as well, which EQRAZ will be doing with other partners as well. And I think the next one, Naveed, is it 15th of February?
That's correct. Yeah, 15th of February in Alberta, more specifically Edmonton. We've decided to start at 11 in the morning, Edmonton time. Just it is a weekend. People usually have things happening in the afternoons and stuff. So we decided to do 11 a.m. Saturday, February the 15th, inshallah.
And maybe we'll have you sometime in the future here in Nova Scotia, come in person.
We look forward to it, brother.
Inshallah. Jazakumullah khair.
Jazakumullah
Thank you.
khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah, brothers. Thank you so much.